Welcome to another episode of the 30-Minute Podcast, full topics in half an hour for the intellectually curious. I'm Mari Posa.
The IZZ.
And so, IZZ, what are we talking about today? Or do I need to tell you what we're talking about today? Should I ask?
Well, you know, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about and they call it the sex industry being the largest and most profitable industry in the world.
Okay.
But, you know, I like to say adult entertainment because when you talk about the sex industry, that includes not only sex working and prostitution, but also phone sex and phone operators.
Okay.
Pornography, whether it be in film or media or print. And, you know, I have my own little thing about it. That's a whole nother topic. And and then also includes strip clubs. So when we talk about that and talk about it being the largest and most profitable industry in the world, then you said, tell the
So
listeners.
I said in Atlanta, gentlemen's clubs, as they were once not known to be called, which now adult entertainment clubs, strip clubs, whatever you want to call them, it's $1 billion industry in Atlanta, right?
Okay.
Let alone in other places, as you just said. So we wanted to delve into that a little bit more. Like, what's the other side of that whole industry? Like, what goes on behind the scenes?
Well, there's a whole other side. There's, as a man, I've heard other people, I won't just say one gender or another, you know, say anything about the pole dancers, the scripples, all of that. But there's another side to that. There's a business side to that. And there's some very wonderful people in that. Go ahead. I'll let you introduce this wonderful person. One wonderful person is going to help us explore the world of adult entertainment in the facet of a gentleman club, adult entertainment nightclubs. We'll let her tell us. I'll let you introduce and she'll tell us what we're going to call it.
Yes. So our very special guest today on the 30-Minute Podcast is the one and the only Miss AngelKake. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You guys finally get to sit down with you guys and talk about, you call it adult or sex industry, right?
Well, it goes by many names. You know,
we're going to call it what you want to call it. What do you want to call it, AngelKake?
Well, I mean, that's a new word I feel like people are using as sex workers. So although it's a bit intense, the name, you know, I guess that's what they are calling it as a title now, you know,
So I work in various aspects for a company or for an organization called Pineapple Support, which is specifically for sex workers. And so when I look at that, they provide therapy services for those that are working as sex workers. I don't really consider those women that are working in the strip club to be part of the sex industry. But then, like we said, there are some people that do. So that's why I was like, how do you feel about that? And then how do you feel about having support for women that work in adult entertainment clubs or strip clubs or gentlemen clubs?
Well, I definitely think it is needed for to call the sex worker industry or being a sex worker only because I think we're forgetting the part of that this is a sex business, you know, because a lot of times when you're in, especially right now, I feel like people think that stripping is such a trend. When I started, it was very taboo. I didn't get to do a lot of things because obviously, you know, people thought I was a stripper. Now it's in every song. So I think it's important for us to mention that it is a sex worker versus you're just a stripper, because a stripper right now is like the new video girl.
So you're saying before, when people thought you were a stripper, that was more of a negative stigma? Is that what you mean? And now it's...
Yeah, well, you know, people kind of view being a stripper as like you were on drugs or you were prostituting. But again, you know, I was offended because those are not things that I projected to people. And I feel like people didn't really understand me. So I kind of have, when you kind of use certain words, it makes you lose confidence. Like, you know, because, I mean, being honest, no one really has positive things to say about being strippers. Like, normally it's a lot of negative words.
Right. Like a lot of judgment with that word.
Yes, exactly.
Can you tell us how you got into this industry? Meaning, like, what led you to the industry?
So I was 18, like just getting out of high school, and I call them 80s parents, but 80s parents had so much fun partying that they forgot to like prepare their kids. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with that because, this is what happens, and I don't, regret anything that's happened, but I was in high school, I had no plans to go to college, I lived by myself. I was like a teenage looking for places to live at, whether it was basically that time was like the pervert R. Kelly era where we dated older guys. So the boyfriends that I had were 30 and I was 18. And that was kind of like, maybe I could stay at this guy's house because I need somewhere to stay so I could go to high school. And then once I got out of high school, I was running out of places to stay. So I kind of lived in my car. I had my car, and I kept thinking about going to a strip club. Like, it was a joke for me, like, maybe I could be a stripper. So I tried being a cocktail waitress. And then I think I made, like, probably $20. So I was like, you know what? I'm never going to be able to get an apartment or do anything if I can only make $20. And I worked in fast food restaurants. I've worked ever since I was like 5 years old, washing windows. I'm very much of an entrepreneur. So, when you have nowhere to live at, there's nowhere for you to go a lot of times. That was in Washington, D.C. So it was on Capitol Hill. To me, it's really cool now that I look back on it, like the opportunities that I got to meet all of these very successful people. That was kind of what motivated me into becoming a woman, because you got to think I was 18. So me developing as a young woman was influences of these politics and just these different people that were in this industry, because the girls were very educated. They were, I worked at, like you said, a gentleman's club. So that was a great part. I would say, if it's like kind of like interning. That was like the beginning of my interning, which it set me up pretty good for later on. But initially, I had nowhere to go. I lived out my car. So happily, it was the night before 9/11. So I got drunk, and then I woke up, and again, this is on Capitol Hill, so I'm driving home, and everything is in smoke. So I'm like, oh my God, Lord, I'm never going to strip again now. So I had to throw her on fire because I started stripping. That was the beginning for me.
You said right before 9/11, so that was about 2001. So now looking now, what do you see as the difference in when you started out versus now? If you were starting out now, do you think it would be easier? Are you glad you started when you did? Would you have rather started now?
I was having this problem myself, kind of talking to my younger sister. She's like 14. And she lives kind of like, I believe she lives at something like a foster home. I was trying to explain to her, well, why it wasn't a good idea for her to do it, because then I realized, okay, you live in a foster home, possibly you're going to lack money, and then, so I couldn't better explain it to her. I'm trying to kind of get the point across why it's not the best decision you can make, but pretty much that should I have started at a later time or now, but everybody has a mental stability point where some people can endure certain environments. It works for them. I have danced with in gentlemen's clubs with girls who are fun for them. Like they sneak out the house and they go. Remember how they used to wear the trench coat?
Yeah.
They would sneak out. They have their dance clothes underneath, and then they went off to work. I couldn't imagine why you would want to do this for fun. But again, this is everyone else's, kind of like their decisions. I just feel like I never have had any amazing experiences mental-wise. Again, it's not a lot of positive influences, so your confidence is always being shot down because either if you're in a relationship, whether your mate is telling you that you're less than, the environment on top of alcohol, drugs, and then it's a very big competition. It's almost like being in a pageant, you know, and then you got all women. And then, you know, it's so many different dynamics of what's in the adult entertainment. And more so in the strip clubs, because we don't have to have sex for money.
Okay. I think that's one of the big myths that people think that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, now it's a bit different because I stopped dancing for about 4 to 6 years because I had a child. But when I came back, I seen something very different because it's more popular now. There's way more girls doing it. You know, I live in Atlanta, so there are girls that are traveling from all over. As to why I even came to Atlanta, because it was money. So what I realized that before was it was a little bit more entertainment, and you kind of talk to the guys more. Your job was to learn how to talk about sports, figure out things that the guys like. You know, you're entertaining them, dancing, and it was kind of like we just were entertaining. You get what I'm saying? Whether you were having a conversation or you were dancing. So now I think that whole entertainment part is out.
Okay.
And then now, you know, because you got to hold a man's attention. So if you've got a few girls that want to have sex with them, you know, the guys want to have sex with them, okay, they might pay you for a couple of months, and then they're on to another girl. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel comfortable with that situation because I never had to do that before. I never had to have sex with any of these customers. Now, have I ever had sex with any guys? Absolutely, because I would date them. Like, these are very successful, attractive men. So we're not talking about like the old pervert sitting in you know how they have those sex stores with the XXX.
Yeah.
Not these kind of guys. These are very successful, handsome, intelligent men. But there is something that happens in the strip club, which is that a lot of men come there for them to have their ego stroked because whatever they are missing in themselves. I find that even dating a lot of those guys, there was a big ego issue that happens with them. As to it probably happens with all guys, but in that area it was, I can pay you to stroke my ego, which means if you date them, they get to tell you what to do because they have the money.
Right. So that kind of sets the table. They feel like their money sets the table for your interactions, which is a kind of a different way to approach relationships. But one of the things that you said I wanted to go back to was just there's not a lot of positive experiences in working in that industry. Do you feel like with the men, like you said, because of the ego piece, that they are actually, do a lot of them approach you all like in a degrading manner? Do you have to deal with that and put up with that type of thing, or is that like few and far between? I'm just curious.
I've never experienced degrading types of, you know, behavior from anybody. I mean, they're definitely, there's no difference in the man from on the street than the man in the strip club, except for he knows he has to spend money. Like, you know, this is, so, I mean, the guys are very, you know, they're beautiful women, so they're nice to beautiful women. They're not like, oh, you know, I could see it. In a sense that we were literally having sex for money, would they maybe degrade us more? Possibly, but no, I've never had anybody mistreat me in the club, so I definitely don't think, does that answer your question?
It does. It absolutely does.
So going off of that, with some things you've said, AngelKake, how much of what you do you think is entertainment? How much of it is sex and how much of it is actually therapy? Because you talked about the ego, and I say that a lot, that in different things, there's a whether you call it adult entertainment or stripping, I think there's a therapy side to it. Like some guys go there instead of going to go see a therapist. So if I was asking you, how much would you say is entertainment? How much of it would you say is sex? And then how much of it would you say is therapy?
I don't think I would look at it in that perspective, to be honest with you. No percent is sex because I'm not having sex for money. I've worked at almost every strip club in the world. I've traveled in the United States. I've traveled to the world. I've been in like like stripper competitions, those kind of things. So again, this is like a pageant. This is not like this is not, I think people have the misconception of the strip world, but I definitely wouldn't say I'm doing any type of therapy because I'm mainly entertaining in the Black club. I'm going to dance, I might make someone feel comfortable. When you're talking about for working in a gentleman's club, you have more conversation, but I've never experienced this therapy part. I mean, unless you're trying to like talk a guy out of some money, like potentially get you a sugar daddy or something like that, absolutely you should talk to them. But I'm not having those kind of conversations. So no therapy, sex-wise, none. Guys know that the women in the strip club, but I kind of think that has changed too. I think that before women were viewed at the strip club as more fun, sexually fun, like it was something they go to the strip club, meet some fun girls, they could, hang out with them, potentially do whatever they want to do. But I don't think that that's so much into sex work that you're going to or having sex as a part of the industry.
Yeah, I think it does seem that it has changed now that a lot of the dancers, they are starting businesses, they're starting clothing lines, or, some of them are rappers. They transition from being a dancer into some other type of platform. And so I wanted to ask you, what is your goal? Do you think you're going to stay in the industry, or do you have a transition plan that you're working on right now that if you want to share?
Sure. Life happens to everyone. Whether you work in any kind of, business, entrepreneurship, because we are independent contractors.
Okay.
So if at any time something were to happen, you got to start all over again. So I kind of had to start all over again, things that happened to me. From what I can remember, I was one of the first girls that I know. Because again, I worked with a lot of the girls like Jocelyn, Black China, Black China. I worked with all these girls in passing because I danced, but I did stop. So I pretty much was married for a while.
Okay.
I never expected to have to go back, but before then I was a I did videos all the time. I was a model actor.
Okay.
And I had a couple of businesses that were successful because I've been raised to be an entrepreneur. And then life happens, as to any woman who kind of goes and is decided to be a mom because she's decided to give up her career or, her dreams because she's fulfilling a family, So
yeah,
this is the same thing that most women have. You can have all the dreams you want, but the second you decide to be a mom, you put your dreams on
hold. Yeah, exactly.
So I pretty much had something like a divorce, a separation, and I had to go back into stripping again, which, anybody who's gotten out of a divorce or relationship, you pretty much are starting from scratch.
Yeah, you are.
So this time I had a couple of businesses, but here's the thing that I think we're missing with our Black women and Black entrepreneurs, that none of us really have education, and we just kind of think, this is my thought. I'm good at something, so I should do it. Or I think I could tap into this industry, but you don't look at, you're not doing any research. You don't know anything about it, but yet you're willing to feed your business with all your money because,
right.
Again, I had an online store. Before I had an online store, before I had my son, I actually had a location in Atlanta where I had a store. And then when I started back dancing, I had an online store. And, there's a lot that people don't share. Like, a lot of these vendors are from China. So anything can happen in China at any time and your business, is a flop. So I think that it's not important for people to continuously tell girls that they need to start a business because it's a lot of money that you might lose out on.
Right.
And it's because either you got time or you got money, right? Most girls, if they're dancing, they don't have time, but they have the money. So this is how businesses fall anyway, because you're not making sure that you're doing the legwork for your business. So, yes, I have had my transitioning. He's happened several times. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every time your business fails, you got to go a little longer. I went to school to be a makeup artist and a stylist, and I made more money being a dancer, so that goes out the window. I went to school to be an esthetician. I opened a spa, and then I had my online boutique. I feel like I had one more business. Long story short, I had a really serious nervous breakdown. So, again, I thought I was getting ready to get out. So this was exciting for me. It was more than exciting. It was more like, I gotta get out. Like, it was a trap that I had to get out of. But then when you're talking about you had a nervous breakdown, you know, you had some type of career and you had a nervous breakdown, it's possible that you could lose your house, your car,
right,
all of those things.
Sure.
So you can lose everything, but luckily that industry is something where you don't have to really get hired. You go, you show up, you make money, you go home. I didn't know who I was. I was confused of who I was. I would say that in a really weird space, you know? So It was hard for me to go to work, but I was able to go like a day when I was like, okay, just go and figure it out for one day. So that allowed me to get better, you know, be able to support myself until I got better. I did not expect a nervous breakdown. And then it goes back to, we got layers of things that happen, you know, from your childhood to you being a dancer. That happens, and then once it all falls down, you're going to fall down. And I would say a large part of that is, one, I am a survivor of mental health, so which means I have a lot of mental health things that go on with me. So I was diagnosed being bipolar at like 21, 20, something like that, where this is normal for, you know, people. That's when they first start noticing mental illness. I don't like to use the word mental illness, but a lot of mental health issues that start up. I didn't have anybody to say, oh, you know, I need some help. Like, can you come with me to my doctor's appointment? Or can you, you know, I need you to kind of keep an eye on me. The doctors really don't educate you on again, they think you're a sex worker. So when you're telling them, like I've had doctors be like, oh, they think it's fun. Like, you're using drugs and you're taking this mental health medicine, or you have to, you know, have sex with these guys. I know you do. I'm like, wait 1 second. I came here to get my medication, and it would have been nice if they would have said, which I recently learned this past year, was that it's a dangerous environment for me. Because, you know, I have an addictive personality, which means I'm going to kind of be addicted to alcohol. It's a lot for a person who has those things that they're dealing with.
But so do you have anything in place, or do you think there's a need for other of your colleagues or coworkers in the adult entertainment industry to have something in the lines of mental health issues? Or is there anything that you're working on in that line?
Yeah, sure. I began last year. I told you when I was 21, I was prescribed benzos, which are Xanax. So a lot of people think those are for fun, because we are in a time of the world. I'm sure people got high on, you know, prescription drugs for a long time. I was taking them being serious with my mental health. I would go, again, because we don't have people that tell us about this. So you're talking about the doctors just want to make money. So then you're just going to go and continuously get medication. But what I will say is that last year I got off of my Xanax cold turkey, which means over 15 years, which means your brain probably falls apart. Because anything you do cold turkey will do a lot to you. But what I learned is we do have a lot of free resources, but we don't talk about it. So I had previously, before that, I don't know what I started originally, but it's called Mentally Rich Society. So it helps people change the stigma of mental illness to mental greatness, because, you know, every disease has, you know, survivors and good parts, and we support each other. So I'm representing the entertainment community, because that's what we are. Instead of saying we're sex workers, I would call us more like a part of the entertainment community, because again, I was a video girl for a very long time. And so I would say that you're really a model. Let's just call it that title. You're a model. This happens when you're being a model. But I want to represent the entertainment world, because again, just as we see a lot of celebrities that totally crash their career because they are, they're using alcohol and they have mental health issues. So that's like pretty much you're going to have a disaster sooner or later. So I think right now it is really a time where people who are in our Black communities, Black and brown communities, to stand up and represent ourselves. For me, as a Black woman, to show other young women, because it's so easy to, everybody wants to be sexy now. And we're taking away so much of these confidence for these young Black women. All of the things that I was taught, those things are no longer taught. So I think that the more we give resources, the more I share resources or my experience, that I'm able to help a young girl, because there are going to be more young girls that are going to get in this industry. And they are going to need therapy. However, I don't want to be a therapist.
So if we hear anybody use that term, we know that you coined it first, AE model. That's what you want to be known as, an AE model, right? So I'm going to give you, we always do this in this time. We give about 3 minutes. If you want to tell the 30s, which that's what we call our listeners, the 30s, if you want to give them any information, anything you want, maybe a young woman, maybe not even 18, maybe a 20-year-old woman thinking about getting into this industry, or if there's cautionary points you want to put out or something you want to celebrate, or if you want to give the name of your organization or the organization you work with. Again, I got the initials with MRS. So if you can tell them what MRS is again, I know it's society. If you want to tell the people, because we have some listeners, if some people want to ever come and see you at work here in Atlanta, I'll give you that 3 minutes to do all of that. Give them all of the information you want to or don't want to give them.
Okay, so I'm no longer a model anymore, a swimsuit model. So they cannot come see me. I made a choice to stop because mentally it wasn't something that supported me, and I felt like I was dying inside because I was abusing so many things. So for the young women who are doing this, anything we know in the world, anything that comes fast isn't right. So I'm starting over scratch at kindergarten, okay, because I decided to go the fast route, and you're going to have to start over again. So right now is my new beginning, and at least at my new beginning, I could make an impact on people's lives from my experiences in a positive way, because we are to service people versus, us being so successful. Our successes come from us giving people knowledge, helping each other, building wealth, because wealth is health. Health is wealth. So I think that most importantly, being beautiful is great, being successful is great. However, we always have to have, be in our right mind and be healthy. My goal for everyone is that my Mentally Rich Society movement will encourage people to live a healthy life. But again, this is the entertainment industry. There is tons of things that are not positive about this industry. And yes, it does help you make money. But again, because I'm starting from kindergarten now, because I had to start over, it seems impossible for the young girl who was like myself, who has nothing. But everybody has their life experiences, so I can't suggest that you do anything. All I can suggest is that when something doesn't seem normal to you. So something, if you're drinking a lot and that, like I'm drinking a little too much now, I'm sleeping a little too much now. So I think that it's important for you to notice your mental health, because that is the first thing that normally is going to be affected, but that you kind of go seek some treatment or look for some resources. So hope that I'm able to help someone, not only just in the adult entertainment industry, but entertainment at all, altogether. So you can follow me on Instagram at mentallyRich.society, and you can look forward to seeing my movement and beyond the pole.
Yeah.
What is great is that I felt like I could never be beyond the pole. I really felt like I was trapped. I bought a house, so that's one thing that young ladies can invest in, is buying property, because it's always going to appreciate value. You can move into it, and so that's what I did. And I lived in my house. It was from a shell. there was nothing inside of it. But it's mine. I own it. Now I have a peace of mind. Now, if I don't have anything else, at least I have a paid-for car and a house that's paid for. So my kindergarten level, all I can do is grow.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for this opportunity of Beyond the Pole because I'm excited about my new beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome. And shout out to Shantae Page, one of the executive producers of that show. She's awesome. And she brought that concept to show the world another side to the adult industry. So that is one place that you could also see AngelKake featured. So with that, IZZ.
And that's what I wanted to say. You do have a beautiful home, and I wish the 30s could see your beautiful white tree.
Christmas tree.
You're getting prepared for the holidays.
This is my very first Christmas tree. I normally hated Christmas because I, as a young girl, got nothing for Christmas. I got one baby doll my whole life. And so I was very angry. Every time somebody would mention Christmas, I'm like, I don't celebrate Christmas. Christmas is, everyone says it's a white man's holiday. But it's really, let's scratch that idea. So I hated putting up trees. I hated up decorating, but I forced myself to do it because I wanted to make myself have a different thought of how Christmas was, not thinking about my childhood where I didn't get anything. And we are doing a coat drive in Atlanta with Beyond the Pole to be able to, in the Latino community, more so the Mexican Americans that are living here, be able to help them with warm clothes, especially the kids, warm blankets. Mainly for kids because kids, are affected more so for Christmas. So again, my Christmas tree, this is a real Christmas for me. I think we're all really grateful to just be alive and to
Right. So we're going to give a shout out to your health. We're going to give a shout out to your beautiful home. And here's to your, as you said, your mental greatness.
I hope that I can impact people by sharing my stories and of being a little girl that didn't have a lot. After school, when you go back to school, all the kids had new stuff. Why didn't me and my sister share clothes? And then if I needed a new pair of shoes, I just went to the lost and found and tried to figure out how I could fix those shoes back. And, I don't want to seem extremely poor, but I was. But it's a poor mindset.
Yeah.
And though you don't have a lot, you do have a lot. So I'm just grateful for this holiday that I can kind of finally throw that thought away that, that it has to do with you having things versus just that family spirit that happens.
Well, shout out to you again, to your beautiful home and to your mental greatness. We want to give you one last time and then we're going to get out of here. So you want to end one last thing you want to tell the listeners before we get out?
Sure, yes. Beyond the Pole is a whole movement because we are getting beyond the pole, but this season is like no other. I think that this show is going to be one of the best shows that are on TV. It's a lot of entertainment. It is drama. I'm excited because this is going to be a really good show. And I would tell everyone who's listening, super funny, crazy, wild, all of the things that people want to know about strippers and how much drama goes on. This show is to watch.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. We look forward to seeing that. And we just want to thank you for sharing your story. I think you definitely inspired some people and opened some eyes and ears. And we're just glad to have you. So thank you, Miss AngelKake.
AngelKake!
Thank you.
And I am the IZZ.
And this is Mariposa. Until next time.